Hey everyone, welcome back to All in the Name of Growth. So excited to have you here with me today and our amazing guest, Isabella. I'm really excited to be able to talk with her and have a conversation because I think that what we're going to talk about today, while her circumstances may be different than your circumstances, it is a common thing. So before I get into the topic today, I just first want to say hello, Isabella. Thank you for joining me. I'm really excited to have you on today.
Hi, Christy. Thank you again so much for inviting me onto the podcast. I'm so happy to be here as well.
Awesome. Okay, so icebreaker that I do on all of my guest podcasts, I'd like to ask just kind of 4 random questions.
Mm-hmm.
So first is going to be your favorite author or book.
Ooh, my favorite author is possibly Sarah J. Maas. She's written a lot of The Throne of Glass, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I love those books, but my favorite book is probably Beautiful Creatures. It's fantasy mixed with a little Midwestern culture, which I really admire.
Awesome. Okay, Beautiful Creatures. Chocolate or vanilla?
Ooh, I think vanilla.
Yeah, me too. Favorite destination? If you can just get away to anywhere, where do you go?
Ooh, honestly, it's weird because I haven't been there yet, but I would love to visit Italy. I think it's so cool. The culture looks so rich and beautiful, but yeah, one day definitely making a plan to go there.
Yes. Oh, I haven't been there either, but totally on my list. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. And the thing that you do to relax?
Ooh. I do a couple of things. I'd say sometimes I will cool down and either paint something, play music, but something that I like to do, especially now that it's getting warmer outside, is roller skating. I love roller
Oh,
skating.
I
Yep.
love that.
Yeah. I'm not like any like professional good or
Sure.
anything like
No, you
that.
don't have to be.
Yeah. But it's definitely fun just to kind of like get out, get moving, and try something new that I hadn't done before.
Yes. I love that. I love asking those questions because it's so random for everybody that I talk to, especially the relaxing question.
Mm-hmm.
It's a totally different answer I've gotten every time, which is great because I think that a lot of times people associate relaxing with like yoga or meditation, and that isn't the way that it always looks for everybody. So I love hearing all the different ideas that people have and the things that they do to just kind of like get away from technology.
Mm-hmm. Decompress.
Awesome. Okay. So one of the reasons why I wanted to have Isabella on today was because of her story and the things that she's kind of overcome. So just a little bit of background information. She is Filipino and comes from a very rich culture in the Philippines. And her parents actually came to the United States and became nurses. And it is a profession that they were just like feel so strongly about, and it's really blessed their lives. And so there was an expectation as Isabella was growing up that that was what she was going to pursue as well. And so the whole conversation today kind of stems from breaking outside of the boxes that people put us in and the barriers that they place around us and the things that, that they kind of have an idea of what we're supposed to be doing with our lives rather than what we want to be doing with our lives. So I just love that you have broken outside of that. You do your own thing now. So kind of give me a little bit more information, or our listeners a little bit more information on what it is that you do right now.
Okay. So right now I am the brand manager for a podcast production company called Resonate Recordings, based in Louisville, Kentucky. It's remote work, so I get the pleasure of working at home. And yeah, essentially it's a lot of brand work, just marketing, communications, facilitating community, and things like that. I really
Yes.
enjoy it.
Awesome. Not nursing.
Yes, not nursing, not at all near the medical field whatsoever.
Yes, not at all. You totally went like to opposite sides of the spectrum. And I think that that's awesome.
Mm.
So what was it about this particular profession that kind of drew you into it?
I would say something that I think came naturally to me growing up was talking to people and speaking English. And something that I really liked about that was just like, getting to learn about other people, and communication just became my passion growing up. And then I found out there's a field for that. So it was kind of just paving the way for me from there. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Isn't that great when you realize that there's something out there that's just like going to fit your little cup of tea? That was me when I was in college. I bounced around between like dental hygienist and a lawyer and a psychologist. Like I was all over the place because what I wanted was to be able to create my own schedule. And I was looking for a profession that was going to allow me to do that.
Mhm.
And then I found entrepreneurship and like business management. And I was like, oh, it was like the
Yeah.
skies parted almost. That's awesome. So when did you know? So you grew up in a culture and in a home where the nursing profession it is deemed a secure profession, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, but it was just something that was kind of ingrained into you from a very young age that was what you were going to do because that was what your parents did. And it was the thing that had provided security for them. And so they felt that it would provide security for you as well. So, and while I totally honor and respect their perspective, I obviously also champion you for following your own path. And so when was it, like, what was the moment that you were like, I'm not going to go into nursing? Like how did that happen?
I think it was probably when we were getting a checkup, me and my sister, with my mom. And my sister and I both did not end up going into the medical field, but we were really young at this time. And our mom was still kind of pushing for us to really like see what it is that doctors, nurses, everyone in the medical field can do for people, how great it is to help people, which we agreed and believed like that was our path. And then I think phlebotomist was withdrawing or drawing blood from my sister's arm. And at the sight of the blood, my sister fainted and I grew nauseous. So we pretty much decided there that the medical field was probably not for us.
That would definitely be a kind of a red flag of maybe this isn't going to actually work out the way that
Oh,
they
yeah.
thought it was going to.
Mhm.
But that wasn't still even in her, fainting and you not feeling well, even, in all of those circumstances, your parents were still
Mhm.
really inclined towards you going into nursing. And so I'm curious how at a young age, because I mean, even when you're 18, making
Mhm.
those choices for yourself, like it's hard to go even as adults. There are so many people even in adulthood that find it very hard to go against what is expected of them, right? To break out of a box or to create a new mold, to do something totally different than what they've always done.
Mhm.
And I find that so many adults really struggle with that. So what was it like? How were you able to, for lack of a better term, stand up to your parents and say, this is not what I'm doing. I'm actually going to go into this other field? Like, what gave you the nerve to be able to do
Mhm.
that? And I don't know. Yeah, expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, it was definitely difficult. You grow up, you believe that this is all there is, this is the only option that's out there. You learn all of a sudden there is another side where the grass is greener. You learn more about those things, what you actually like, not just what your parents want you to do. And it was scary at first to stand up to my parents. I think I would like, lay little Easter eggs here and there, kind of hinting that, hey, I don't want to be in nursing, just saying like, wow, I can't imagine doing that kind of thing
Mm.
every day. Or, wow, you come home from work so exhausted. I don't know if that's kind of what I want for my life every day. And my parents were, I think they caught on that I wasn't really getting into nursing because they tried to put me in a lot of different opportunities that would let me see what it is that they do in hopes that I
Yeah.
would fall in love with the profession. But I think what I ended up doing was it was kind of like a passive aggressive confrontation. So it wasn't me saying, I'm never going to be a nurse or anything like that.
Got it. It was gradual.
Yes, it was more like I was participating in things in school that were not related to the medical field at all. Like, hey, mom, dad, I competed in this art competition and I won first place. And they're proud because, first place in whatever field is still first place. So they're like,
Right.
okay, that sounds cool. And then I just kind of kept trying to do those kinds of things like, hey, I'm competing in this. Hey, I won an award. I received recognition for something in film, something in debate, communication. And little by little, they started to realize that my accomplishments are not at all aligned with something that could be put on a resume. for a medical field. It's more something
Yeah.
aligned in
Yeah.
business, marketing, speaking. But yeah, they got the idea after that, but they definitely did not give up trying to convince me up until college.
Yeah. So tell me about you. So when we had a previous conversation about this, I loved your story about the paperwork that you had filled out.
Mhm.
So share that story. I think
Yeah.
I thought that was really entertaining.
Yeah. So around freshman year of high school, I attended a high school where pretty much everybody had a major. It was called a magnet school, and we could apply for a major, but the major couldn't be changed once you were accepted into the school. So my mom initially did not want me to attend the school. It was kind of far. It was a blue ribbon school, which means it was like very difficult to get into and well ranked. And my mom was just like, oh, there's no point in trying to get into that school. And I was like, oh, but mom, they have an allied health program. So something, that would put me in nursing, put me on track for that. And
And were
that's the,
you at that time even considering it?
oh no, in
Or
my mind,
why
I
were
had
you,
decided.
where were you, what were you actually looking at?
I was actually looking at interactive media production, which was,
Got it.
yeah, pretty much the only artistic thing that they offered. There were like engineering programs, construction, things like that. But when I showed it to my mom, like they have an allied health program, she immediately was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do that. That sounds great. That sounds perfect to put you on the path to nursing.
Gotcha.
So she took it and she had checked the box off and said, okay, now mail this, like go outside, put it in the mailbox and send it. But instead, I took it before sealing it in the envelope. I scratched out that option, the allied health option, and I circled, check marked, and made it clear that I wanted to do interactive media production instead, sent it in. And then when we went to orientation, we got my documents, and my mom's like, oh, they've made a mistake. They put you in for interactive media production. This isn't right. And I was like, oh no, that's too bad. I guess we can't change it anymore. And she's like, no, 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 let's talk to the administration. And I was like, no, it's done. The deed is done. I can't change it. So she was like, wow, what a waste. But well, you're in high school. So I just went on from there.
That's amazing. Now, while I obviously don't condone kids like totally, going against their parents' beliefs, I am a huge champion for doing what you feel like is right for you.
It was my act
And
of rebellion.
yeah, so I'm sure that that was a little nerve-wracking on your
Mhm.
part as a freshman. I mean, I think about what, who I was as a freshman, and well, yes, I've also been kind of rebellious too in the thing, in my own pursuits. Um, so I understand the mentality, but I also recognize, I mean, I have a son who is, 15, almost 16 at this point, and I can't see him doing anything like that. So it's like a DNA thing, like you just know what you want to do, and you're willing to pursue it at whatever cost. And I think that was pretty amazing that you were willing to pursue that path, hoping that it was just going to work out in your favor. And it did, I mean, here we are, right? Years
Yeah.
later, and it's been awesome. So in following a path so there are a lot of people who have jobs that they absolutely hate. And I think that that is so unwise. It is not good mentally, physically,
Mhm.
anything. So what benefits do you feel like you have experienced in your life because you chose something you were passionate about versus nursing? Like what did you gain by choosing this path? And maybe also, what do you feel like you lost, if
Mhm.
anything, in choosing this path?
I would say definitely, yeah, to like acknowledge the benefits, I also have to acknowledge the disadvantages, I suppose. Um, Definitely when I decided to choose this path, a major in business communication, a lot of members of the Filipino community, my aunts, uncles, even friends, classmates, relatives, family friends, they were not very accepting or open to that. I had plenty that were and were thinking like, oh, that's kind of strange, but go ahead. But plenty of them were kind of like, it's not too late to change your major. You can still
Mm,
transfer to another college, things like that. But I would say the benefits definitely outweigh that judgment. It was hard, of course, growing up thinking like,
yeah.
maybe I made a mistake. Maybe this is what I should have done instead. What if I fail? Things like that, that
Mhm.
anyone will really go through. But the benefits, honestly, of getting to do what it is that I want every day, whether it's in my classroom, just kind of communicating with other people, exploring communication theory. If I say this, what connotation does that have? What impact can it have?
Mm.
And honing my skills in something I actually care about versus um, basically trying to understand a language that never spoke to me once in my entire
Yeah.
life. And I would say, like, having that is just a sort of peace that I wouldn't trade for anything else. And even when I did like receive that harsh judgment, even now, like to this day, like if um I remember I was like with my family and we were hosting a dinner with my dad, his friends from work. So all nurses, all in the medical field. And they're asking me like, what's your major? Like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm in communication. And they don't understand what that means. And they're saying, oh, are you like in nursing? And I'm like, no. They're like, oh, okay. So pre-med. And I'm like, no. And they're like, physical therapy? And I'm just like, no, I am in business because that's what they'll really
There
understand.
you go. That's
Yeah,
a good
exactly.
explanation.
Yeah. And they'll still like, have judgment towards that. And I remember that man in particular had kind of just looked at my dad and was like, oh, sorry, you didn't
Oh
get a nurse.
no.
Exactly. But I was lucky to have gained not only like with my own skills and my own passion, but my parents eventually came around and my dad was like, actually, my daughter speaks English really well. And that's something that we didn't have the privilege
Yeah.
of like being able to do that and pursue a career in that. And I think that she's doing well in what she has been pursuing. And I think it's going to lead her to some great places. And I was like, wow, thanks, Dad, because
Oh, I bet
it's
that was
coming full circle.
yeah, like a full circle moment at that point where you were like, oh my gosh, it's like sinking in and he's like having my back. That's incredible. I love that.
Yeah, I never thought like they would ever accept, that this is
Yeah,
what I wanted to do since it spent more than half my life trying to make me do something else. But I think
right.
my stubbornness just got the better of them. And it probably also seemed to them maybe bad that like somebody else might have been looking down on me for not doing what it is
Mm,
that they'd wanted
right.
me to do, so they were defending me in their own way, and it was definitely empowering and only made me doing what I want to do that much sweeter knowing that
Yeah.
they accepted it.
Awesome. I love that story. I think that that's really great, especially when your parents, when they come to the understanding and realization that this is the thing that you're going to do and that they feel like they can be proud of you for your accomplishments and what you're pursuing rather than in what they, wanted you to do. So what tools for those people who are really struggling to kind of break out of the mold and to go their own way, I think
Mhm,
that, people who have done it before can give them some advice on what that kind of looked like for them, what tools or mindset they used
mhm.
to, kind of go against the grain and be able to achieve the thing that they were really desiring. So what was it that helped you be able to succeed in the path that you chose despite the circumstances and the community which you grew up in and loved? Did you have to create a new community? Like what was it that helped you be able to be successful?
I would say, in terms of mindset, there was this one quote that I heard that pretty much got me through all of those like negative, disparaging comments. It was that you only have one precious life, and it is up to you to decide what it is that you want to do with it. And like when I heard that when I was younger, it's kind of just like, make the most out of your life, go travel, go do things you never thought you'd
Sure.
do. But in reality, like that can be applied to just everyday life in the sense of, I only have one life. Why am I going to live it for other people, to make other people happy when it's mine? It's meant for
Yeah.
me to be happy with that.
When it would make you miserable.
Exactly, exactly. And it's like, why spend all of these, years crying or hating my job, hating my life, or just trying to, seek benefits where I could give myself more. And I think in part that was just like the journey to kind of finding more self-love in that way, that it's like it's not a matter of, can I do this for my parents? Can I earn this for my parents? And that will bring me worth. It's more like I'm
Sure.
already worth something. Now I get to choose what to do with that worth and put it towards something that brings me value to my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. And joy.
Mhm.
You know, and I think that one of the things too that a lot of people don't recognize is that when we do things for other people, like, so one of the big things that I talk about a lot in my community, is something that I wholeheartedly believe, is that when we say yes to things we want to say no to, we're actually saying no to the things that we would rather be saying yes to.
Yeah.
And so in that correlation, when we're living at that kind of a life, when we're just, you know, trying to, I guess, in our minds, almost sometimes people will justify it by being selfless.
Mhm.
And while there is so much value in being selfless and in serving and in doing good in the world, it has to
Mhm.
be on your terms. Like somebody else demanding something of you and you doing that thing in the name of being selfless, even though it's something that you hate and that you're resenting them for, just causes strife and commotion in
Mhm.
those relationships. And so I think that, you know, one of the benefits that, you know, you were, as we were talking about benefits, one of the ones that I was thinking that you probably experienced in your life, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that even though there was a little bit of rockiness in the community and, you know, in the general whole, your parents, your aunts and uncles, and, you know, the bigger community, that while there was a little bit of rockiness there, I feel like because you had the courage to pursue your own path, that you didn't end up resenting your parents and the expectations that they had for you, and resenting them that you pursued something in your life that was making you miserable and it was all their fault, right? That at this point you have a healthy relationship with your parents and your family because you chose to blaze your own trail and do your own thing rather than being resentful against them and causing strife in that relationship. I mean, I know that for me in my life that that is true when I feel like I'm being forced to do something I don't want to be doing, which, let's be honest, that like basically never happens because I'm not that kind of person to allow somebody to be like, you have to do this. That's just not my way of going, which it sounds like is not your way of going either. But in those circumstances, like in school with teachers, that kind of stuff, it was always like, it always created a negative relation there, right? And I had a lack of respect for that person because they didn't care about what I wanted as an
Mhm.
individual. So would you say that that is true, that you standing up for yourself and pursuing your own path has actually in some ways saved your relationship with your parents rather than just like bowing down and doing what they said?
I would say for sure it's kind of a 50-50 because growing up without the support to follow your dreams, and you always like see that kind of thing shown in media. The parents are like, do whatever you want, son, like you can
Sure.
do it. They're at the
Yeah.
baseball game, that kind of thing. And it's like not having that, it definitely at the time, in my adolescence was just kind of like I didn't feel supported. I didn't feel like I
Sure.
could be myself around them, and resentment had built up. But I definitely think like me choosing myself is what not only saved my relationship with my parents, but saved kind of the way that they see me.
Mm,
Because I don't think that you can be good at something that you genuinely hate, or be a good version of yourself doing something you genuinely hate. And I think that, if I had been forced to become a nurse in the end, and I was just hating my life, I'm sure I wouldn't be that pleasant to be around either. And they wouldn't have liked that. Versus now, we can look back, and even every now and then, like I'll think, man, if I had had that support earlier, I wonder where I'd be now. But at the same time, it's kind of like there's no point in kind of wasting the time to think of what could have
yeah.
been, would have been, should have been. Like
Sure.
I got things to do, and I'm already proud of myself now that I was able to make this difficult but life altering choice. And
Yeah.
my parents are proud of me too. And I can't like count how many times they've said again and again, every time I'm like, hey mom, I got this promotion at work, or I'm gonna get to do this. They say, thank God you didn't listen to me. And I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. And
Oh,
I'm really like, I'm glad about that. And I'm glad that they see that now. The
yeah.
resentment would probably still be there if they would been like, no, you should have been a nurse. It would have been different. But because they accept that, it wasn't just on my part that I saved our relationship. It's also them choosing to accept who I am. And we were able
Absolutely.
to make a compromise.
Right. Absolutely. And that is very true in any relationship, is that it has to come from both sides. It can't be just one-sided. Otherwise it never works. I mean, that's how it is with my daughter and I. Were best friends.
Mm.
And for Mother's Day, you know, she's just like lavishly praising. And I'm like, well, I mean, thank you for all of the kind compliments, but I recognize that it's, it's also because you were open to having an honest and open relationship with your mom, and that we can have that kind of relationship now. So it definitely goes 50-50. So you touched on in that the aspect of being miserable in a profession that you don't want to be in. And I think that that's like the main point is that I really want to get to people is that if you're miserable in your profession, you're doing something wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we had touched on at the very beginning of the episode and in our conversation last time was about secure professions. And, for your parents, the secure profession for them was nursing. So tell me your thoughts on if you think that secure professions actually exist, and, if is it worth pursuing a secure profession in order to I guess, sacrificing the thing that you want to be doing?
I think definitely, looking at it from my parents' perspective, it made sense. I understand why they wanted me to be a nurse so badly. Like that was their ticket out of a third world country, the Philippines, and it got them here. It got them to do what it is that they wanted to do, which was start a family, have a stable, secure job, and everything like that. But in terms of anything being a secure job, like we saw with the pandemic, that anything could just kind of be taken from us at any given point. And I think, trying to pursue a career that you might hate just for the sake of playing it safe for your entire life, it sounds corny, but I'm pretty sure that's not living. Like, I'm pretty sure it's not really living if you are just doing something propelled out of fear that's just surviving. And you won't be able to maybe you can find happiness in that if it does end up being an interest that, you grow to love. But I would say chances are, if you're certain and you already know that this is something that, whether it's something you can't stand or just doesn't spark joy in your life, that you will not receive a positive outcome that would balance out what you would have received had you just believed in yourself and liberated yourself from the fear that you have that's keeping you from achieving those goals. And of course, that's not to say, like, it's easier said than done, but it's not to say that it's something that anyone can do in any circumstance. It takes a lot to move that boulder, but I really do believe in the end, if it's something you genuinely want to do, it's worth it. Something my older cousin had told me before, and she was also, she ended up not becoming a nurse, and everyone was really scared for her and everything like that. And she came straight from the Philippines. Like, she immigrated here and then didn't become a nurse like everyone thought she would. Something she told me is like, she became an artist, and she said, yeah, there are days where I wish I had more money, and there are days where I wish, or I wonder what might have happened if I had just done what my mom had told me to do. But honestly, the one thing that has kept me going is, if I don't create, if I am not an artist, if I don't utilize this part in me that's so unique to me, I think I might die. And I think if I never had the chance to do any of what I've gotten to do pursuing my dream, I might die. And, she made that her survival, as opposed to what we typically view as survival. And that also, encouraged me to kind of choose this path for myself. And I hope it encourages other people as well.
I love that. I think that's all of that is a great kind of like wrap up point for us. And Jim Carrey, actually, I heard a quote that he had said once that said, you can fail at things that you hate, so you might as well pursue the things that you love.
Yeah.
And that's like a culmination of exactly what you were just saying, in that, we can choose to be miserable and have money, and I don't think I'm not of the mentality, right, that, you have to do something that you don't like in order to gain money. I think that you can have all the things that you want in life, but I think that a lot of people narrow themselves into a box that says, well, what's going to make me the most money? And I guess I'll pursue that,
Exactly. Yeah.
rather than what sets my soul on fire. And I'm going to figure out how to make money doing that, or make a difference in the world, or whatever, make your life meaningful, really is what we're going for, is to do something that is meaningful for us as individuals. So I love that. Is there any like one last kind of thought that you would share with our listeners in like a word of encouragement or something that would help them to, take that first initial step outside of the box?
Yeah.
What would you give them?
I think something that I would say is the most powerful tool that you have is your ability to speak to yourself. And that's not necessarily to say, like, talking to yourself or constantly muttering to yourself or
Right,
things like
right.
that. What I mean is more like, you know, you are what you eat, you are what you feed yourself. So if you only feed yourself the mentality that's been fed to you your entire life of, no, I can never be anything but a nurse, this is the safest way, this is the only way, things like that, that whatever you feed is what you're going to become. But you
Yes.
have the ability to talk to yourself and say differently, to think differently and say, well, maybe it's not the only option, maybe this isn't all there is. And if you have the ability to discern that this is not what I want to do, that means that somewhere out there, there is an alternative. And it's up to you whether or not you are willing to take a bite of that alternative, to feed that to yourself and then do something about it.
Yes.
So it's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy, but
Right.
I will say it is always worth it.
Always, always worth it. Yes. Always asking yourself, well, it's that what you were saying about just another option. You don't even have to take the leap, but what
Mm-hmm.
else is possible?
Exactly. Your effort will never betray you. I think I'm a strong proponent of that.
Love that. Awesome. Isabella, thank you for joining me today and kind of sharing your story and your life experiences and your wisdom and the things that you've gained from your hard experiences. I think that sometimes our hard experiences, obviously, they help us, but I believe in large part they are meant to help other people too, to be able to overcome their own things. And so I honor you for coming today and sharing your experience so that other people can see in themselves what you experienced and kind of see a roadmap out of where they're at so that they can achieve something else that's more meaningful or fulfilling in their life. So two huge cheers for you on following your own path, doing your own thing despite the circumstances, and being awesome at your job and obviously well respected in your realm. So
Thank
I
you so
appreciate you
much.
coming on.
And I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much for giving me this platform to, like voice this out to other people who may be in a similar situation. I think what you're doing here is really important work. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. We will catch up with you later.
Yes. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Bye.